Hello and welcome back to another NWCL Beyond the Boundary. I'm Corey Donnelly, and today I'm joined by Earby Cricket Club legend and president. We have Stephen Hipgrave. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, good. Thanks to you.
I'm glad. Thank you very much. Firstly, could you introduce yourself, please? So just tell us about yourself and your involvement at Earby.
Well, I've played cricket, senior cricket since I was 13-year-old at Earby. Now I'm 64. uh, Obviously, I had 5 years playing at Colne in the 80s and come back to Earby with my good friend Ian Clarkson, who were playing at Nelson. And I come back as captain, he came back as pro, and we won league it first year. And then I've been captain for years, seems like years. And then I captained seconds. So, yeah, good.
Real. So looking at this season, your first currently sit eighth in the league, your second and seventh, and your third's done all right. They sit in third place. How have you felt the season has gone so far for the club?
I think they've all teams have underperformed, to be honest. Uh, we got some good signings. Matt Nutter, although he's starting to score runs. Jake Hargreaves from Baxenden. He's bowled pretty well, but he hasn't shone with the bat. And we haven't had the same teams all season. Holidays, festivals, you name it.
And do you think, obviously, you mentioned player availability being a big issue there, but do you think there's anything really stopping the kind of success for the team this year? Obviously, you've signed Jake and Matthew Nutter. Um,
Yeah.
obviously, obviously Jake obviously shown to be very good at boxing last year. It's just hadn't gone quite too well at bat this year. Do you think there's anything in that why we haven't been so successful this year?
Maybe trying too hard.
Hmm.
Yeah, because we all know how, at the club how good they are. Yeah. We've got
What
a
were your
good
expect-
one.
what were your expectations going into the season for the teams?
I
Obviously, I assumed it would get promoted.
Yeah, I thought we we'd have been up there challenging. To be fair, to get promoted, I did because it looks like we've got a good professional in Duneath. As overseas, he's bowled well. His batting not too bad, but I suppose it takes him a long time to get used to our wickets. You know,
Yeah.
Earby's usually a bit damp, although we've had a good summer.
Hmm.
Yeah, it's just a shame where we are. Yeah,
Yeah. And your third team are currently sit third in the league, and I think they play. I don't know how they're doing the virtual cup as well, but
yeah,
but they still got that potential to win the league. Do you think that could be looked at on the bright spot? But they're still playing for something, even what we are 22nd of July.
yeah. Third's a good young side, to be fair. They are, yeah. Kieran Mara seems a good captain. He gets the lads together, and he's very encouraging, with some 13-year-olds playing in thirds, which is good. Yeah, and they play Cherry Tree tomorrow night in the quarter final of the virtual cup. Yeah, that's a derby, weather
Oh,
permitting.
well, Britain, obviously, yeah. So I want to focus on your second team now. And I know you've been playing in that this season. How have you felt of that experience of obviously you were playing first team 8 years ago, and now you're playing second team cricket. It's very different. But what have you felt of that experience?
I enjoy it. I love it. Yeah, I like batting with kids when they, and talking to them, try and get through their innings and just talk to them. Like other week, I batted forever for about 8 runs. With a young kid who was 13, and I just talked to him. And one of their players says, "That's best coaching you can give a young lad." And this young kid ended up getting 20, which made the difference. We ended up getting 92 and we bowled them out for 87. So we won, and this kid, and I'll never forget it really because he were a kid that listens as well. Yeah.
Yeah. And obviously, I watched your second team earlier in the season, and I spoke to you. They behaved very well. They I know they lost the game, but the game they played were very good. It was only I think, what 15 runs they lost by. But like you said before, they got a lot of juniors in that side. I think they had, I think half the team were under 18 when we played them.
Yeah.
And you mentioned you feel that you want to help nurture these cricketers. do you feel that those senior players in a second team, not just at Earby, but in general, your role is to help develop these young players into senior cricketers?
Yeah, that's what I've always said. I've seen that many good cricketers play for a lot of years at an high level, first team, and then all of a sudden they jack in and they don't put out back in. And that's what I enjoy doing. I've had a great career, met some good people, friends,
Mm.
through cricket, and it's just nice to put something back in.
Yeah. And one of those juniors, I know I mentioned to you after the game, was Max Nutter.
Max
And,
Nutter, yeah.
and I'm not sure the exact stats, but I think he's done all right this season. How well do you think he's developed in the last 12 months?
Oh, unbelievable, really. Yeah. He's plenty of confidence now.
Mm.
Yeah. I batted with him at Chatburn, and he hadn't had a 50 yet. And he got 47, and he were really distraught when he were out. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he's got plenty of time to get a 50. He's played a couple of games at first team as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and batted well. Yeah,
And because he's still, I'm not sure exactly how old he is.
17, I think. He's 16 or nearly 17. Yeah,
Yeah, so he's still young, right? He's still got a couple of years to kind of develop in second team, and you never and at that age, sometimes they come back, leave in September, come back in April, and look like a complete different player.
they do. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, they do.
So,
Yeah,
you never know this experience with you playing in there. And one thing I do want to mention is the second team captain, Jason Lockley, and obviously he's an experienced player as well. Do you also think that the second team success, whilst might not won any silverware yet, but the game you do win is, his captaincy with his experience he provides to them young players really helps the team to thrive.
yeah, it does. Yeah. Jay's a good captain. Yeah, he took over from me. Yeah, and he gives the lads a chance. Yeah, and he bats his cell down order when sometime I think he should bat higher.
Yeah. I think he got 169 runs and a five for last year, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, on his day, he can smash it all over.
Mm.
Typical
Um,
left-hander.
yeah, they always are. So now I want to talk about your son. I know you meant Luke Hipgrave, and he's had a pretty good season with the ball this year, and he's taken 36 wickets in all comps at an average of 16. How nice is it to see him doing well?
Yeah. I love watching him play. I think I get more nervous when I'm watching him than when I play because I want him to do well. Uh,
Mm.
he don't listen to me wherever I try and tell him about cricket. He just doesn't listen. I don't think most kids, well, lads, listen. He has
Mm.
the ability. He's bowled very well, I think, this year. I'm just disappointed of how many runs he's got. He should get more runs, to be fair.
Mm.
Yeah,
Yeah, he bats down the order, doesn't he? But I've noticed I've
yeah.
heard on social media he's nicknamed the Bull, something
The
like. I don't know
ball.
how that's come from, but he seems to be he can hit a long ball, can't he?
He can, yeah. Bull. They christened him that when he was an apprentice at an engineering company because he's a stocky lad. Yeah,
Yeah. Oh, that's nice. So I know in your first team this year, Chris Walton was captain this last year. Now he's captain this year again, but he was keeper last year. Now he's turned into a bowler as well. I've seen getting his arm over in some games, but that's given opportunity to I think Luke Chapman,
Luke
if I'm
Chapman.
right,
Yeah.
as keeper. How do you think that opportunity will help him develop playing for the first
Oh,
team?
100%. Yeah.
Mm,
Yeah, Chris were always a bowler before it. Well, he were a wicket keeper, then he were a bowler, then he were a
mm,
wicket keeper, and I
yeah,
think now he's getting a bit old and his knees are going. But obviously Luke's got to be the future, and then we've
yeah,
got Charlie Falshaw plays at seconds wicket keeper, and then we've a lad called Ewan plays in third team. So we
mm,
have, you've got to keep giving him a chance, really.
yeah. I agree with you there. And so I'm not too knowledgeable in eBay, obviously, from the Bolton side. I'm not too knowledgeable in a lot of them clubs unless I see something on social media. But, when you're a real president, you've been there for plenty of years now. Can you just talk us through about the club as a whole and the events you put on, how you get funding and stuff like that?
Yeah, well, I suppose we've always, especially since COVID, we've always said we've got the biggest beer garden in Earby,
Mm,
you know. And I think when it were COVID, we had tables and seats, and we had a mobile app that you could order your drinks, and then we were getting a lot of more local people on, and we do get good crowds at Earby, yeah.
Yeah,
Funding, we have Gary Martindale, who's our secretary. He seems to be brilliant in getting funding from different ECB and local and sponsorship match balls and game match sponsors and
yeah.
yeah, we do quite well.
And can you talk us through about the short term and long term plan at Earby? So whether it's on the field, off the field, can you talk about what your plans for the future are?
Well, we've just had a anonymous benefactors bought us a new roller, which is brilliant. Obviously, we're a bit stuck what we can do with the ground because of our hill. Have you been to Earby?
Not been to you, but I've heard it's a big hill, isn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it is. Yeah, yeah. So it does flood. If we get any rain, it floods quite easily.
Mm,
But at the side of our clubhouse, we're thinking of putting decking down. We're going in for a grant for that.
mm,
Whereas always you have to, get permission of council and all this lot for just a decking, really. Yeah, but
yeah.
we do, uh, and we have social functions. Like last week, no, the week before when we played Barnoldswick, we organised a players' reunion, which were a
Mm,
good day. It made it better because we won as well. We beat Barnoldswick. And second team didn't have a game, and there were a lot of people on, so we do fairly well behind the bar, to be fair.
Real. And I spoke to Johnny Beach a couple of weeks ago, and he
Yeah,
mentioned I think it was a week before like you two play each other, and it seems to me like it's a big derby. You get a lot of crowds on. Is it always been like that between Barnsley and Eva, where you always, obviously you play on the pitch, and you have a pint afterwards. You always, your mates then. But has that always been the case in years before?
yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Back in my day, when I was playing, yeah. But I
Mm,
first started when all the pubs on a Sunday closed at 2 o'clock. But Barnoldswick Cricket Club had the bar open,
mm,
so everybody from Barnoldswick town used to come down, and it used to be full. It used to be full,
mm.
yeah,
Oh,
and good banter. But I've been a bit disappointed lately. We always used to play Barnoldswick on bank holidays, Sundays,
mm,
so we got good crowds. You know what I mean? But now we
yeah,
seem to play them on daft days.
yeah.
Saturdays when yeah, it's just. I suppose it's hard to get all the fixtures and make them bank holidays, but I think a lot of clubs would love them on a bank holiday Sunday. The May Sunday and the August one.
I think that's obviously an opportunity for the league to go into. Obviously, you got the bank holidays in May and the one in August as well. I know the Hamer Cup final reserve date is on bank holiday Monday, but then
Yeah,
bank holiday you can do a lot with them. As
yeah,
an
you can.
obviously as an opportunity to venture into in the future. But I think now I want to talk about yourself. Obviously, we mentioned before about you being an EV legend, and I'm sure many people would agree with that statement. You mentioned you captained the first team and you won the double many years ago. But how much of a privilege is it to have this opportunity, which not many people have?
Well, I'll be honest with you. I've lived in here all my life, so to get the opportunity to be captain were brilliant. But then the captain aside that we had when we did the double was unbelievable. It captained itself really. All
Mm,
I really had to do was go out and toss coin up, win the toss if it was sunny, because Nigel Pickles, who got 1,000 runs that season, an amateur, if I lost the toss and they shoved us in on an hot day, I knew Nigel would not get any runs. He never did. He hated fielding in the sun, but then he bat all afternoon. Yeah,
mm. Yeah, and that opportunity. Obviously, you've been first team captain. Your son Luke is T20 captain. I don't know if he has been first team captain in the past.
yeah. I think he's vice captain now. I think he's captaining this Saturday because Chris is going on holiday.
All right, and then
Yeah,
you've got your grandson. I can't remember his name. Um,
Charlie.
Charlie, and he's coming up through the ranks now. Is that nice? Obviously, the Hipgrave, the Hipgrave name being kind of ingrained into the roots at Eve, and you see people, and hopefully in 10 years' time or so, you'll see him playing for the first team and hopefully captaining the team.
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
What I want to do is to carry on playing until he's old enough. He's 11 now to
mm,
play in the thirds or maybe the seconds. Just
mm,
because I've played it first with my son Luke and the
mm.
seconds, and it'd be nice just to play in a match with my grandson. Yeah, yeah, it'd be
Yeah,
brilliant.
yeah, that'll be really good. Obviously, if you carry on playing, you still obviously you're still scoring runs now, you're still taking wickets, so that could easily be an opportunity, couldn't it?
Yeah.
But obviously, you mentioned that double lead, double side. And one of the players in that side was called a young lad called Glen Chapple. And I'm too young to see him play, but I've researched him. He's a very successful player at Lancashire after leaving Evie. He scored nearly 9,000 runs and took almost 1,000 wickets in over 300 first class games. Could you see that potential in him when he was a young lad at Evie?
Oh yeah, definitely. Because obviously his father Michael, who I took over as president from, who sadly passed away a couple of years ago, uh, and you could tell, that he was going to be not as special as he became, uh, but you could tell he had talent. He was going to be a good club cricketer, even if he didn't make it. And
Mm,
also, it was, excuse me, was by chance that he did get picked up with Lancashire. To be fair, because of us being like on the border of Lancashire, Yorkshire,
mm,
we didn't get many people watching, if you will, coming from counties. But we got the chance of Jim Kenyon came down for one Friday night to coach the juniors, and
mm.
that's Jim Kenyon picked him up and then took him to Lancashire, and then that's rest history. But
Yeah.
uh, when he were with us and Lancashire, uh, Lancashire said that he to go into an higher league, so he went to play at Kearsley, whatever you want to call it.
Mm.
Yeah, so he had a season there. Yeah,
Yeah.
playing as an amateur.
And what point? So how old was he when he left EB to go with Lancs?
16, 17.
Seeing, was it kind of obviously you're really happy for the player? Come for the junior academy. You know, a real name. Everything you've done now. Of these young players you have, Glen Chappell's you might look up to. He's a role model. He's done with that. You could be that person if you carry on doing this. Do you see? Do you kind of when you do the junior coaching or when you did the junior coaching, do you kind of use Glenn as kind of someone who the juniors can look up to? And I don't know if he's still involved in it, but does he ever come down for a drink or to watch a game at any point?
Yeah, he does. Yeah, his mum still comes on. Back in the day, his dad used to bring a big black bin bag and drop it in dressing room where all kids were, and it were all Glenn's stuff. With number three on, and the kids just loved it. They thought it was fantastic. Yeah, yeah.
Bro. So I know you've said you might play for Lancashire over 50s and over sixties as well. What have you thought of the experience that we could actually represent your home county?
Well, it is my own county, but I am a Yorkshireman. I was born in Keighley, so I am a Yorkshireman. No, to be asked to play for Lancashire over 50s were fantastic. I can remember my first game. Can't remember where we played at, and got there, and the guy Dave Bartholomew, he sadly passed away a few weeks ago from St Anne's, and we're talking and before the game, and I went into the dressing room where I had put my bag, the away dressing room. When I got there with no bag, and we were playing Yorkshire, and Dave had put it in the Yorkshire dressing room.
Wow. Wow.
Yeah, but no, to be fair, there's some good cricketers over 50s, 60s. Like with an ex-captain, John Punchard of England seniors. Now we've had Phil Deakin. He was captain in the last Grays Ashes match that they
Mm.
played. Uh, yeah, there's some good cricketers. Yeah,
And
just
how
a
did
bit
that
slower.
just a bit slower, definitely. And how did that opportunity come about? Did you go to them or did they have to look at your stats? Or what was the kind of
Uh,
how do you get to play from?
it seemed to be that when I got to 50, uh, 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 the manager of the team, John Sharples, rung me
Hmm.
and just asked me if I fancy playing Lancashire over 50s. And obviously I jumped at the chance, I never expected to get that phone call.
Yeah,
So that was an honour, yeah.
yeah, that's not bad. And obviously, you mentioned it's slow bowling and the fielding as well. Obviously, that would probably be a bit different. How is it? Because obviously, I don't really follow the old 50 stuff, so I'm just watching cricket thinking, you're not all athletes, but most people are active in the field. How is it fielding for them? I'm guessing a lot of there's not a lot of freeze run, is there?
No, 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 no. But teams I've played in with batters that smack it out of the ground even to this day. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Glenn Bullock, he played at West Orton. I don't know, Glenn.
Mm,
Uh, yeah, Tony Bennett. He travels all the way from Scotland to play wherever we're playing. Yeah,
oh, it's not bad.
yeah,
Some
yeah,
commitment there.
yeah.
Um, but so I know the Northwest Cricket League are looking to expand the league in the coming years. But what would you say are positives about you and Evie experience since being in the newly formed league?
I think it's been a good move because I think the Ribblesdale League were getting stale. Everybody knew what everybody did. And I think since the Northwest Cricket League's been formed, it's been a good challenge. You know, the first year when everybody played everybody to get the leagues as they are now were brilliant. And I think it made us realise how far behind we were on a lot of Bolton League, Bolton Association sides. To be fair,
Yeah.
yeah.
And with the league, obviously, what do you think the league's main asset is, or what do you think the main positives of the league would be to attracting new clubs from the leagues?
Well, I've heard rumours that they're looking to become a Premier League, which
Yeah,
you know it's brilliant. Then if you get a Premier League, that should attract players.
yeah,
Uh, there seems to be quite a bit of money in the Bolton League sides. I don't
yeah,
know, obviously some lovely clubhouses and nice grounds, and you know,
yeah. And if you look at from my field a league perspective, so we've next year will be a 22 clubs in 21 clubs actually, with obviously if any staying in the conference divisions next year. Obviously we would want to get up to 24 in the future. But if someone from another club in the Lancashire area or even the Manchester area looking at it, watching this video, what would you say to them if they was to join a league apart from what you've already mentioned?
it's very competitive, and you've got to challenge yourselves.
Hmm.
And if you think you're good enough, I'd definitely say join the Northwest Cricket League. Definitely.
Yeah. And I know many other, obviously, I've mentioned this to people on this journey, people I've spoken to about finals day, for example, and cup finals. I know you're quite generally active on social media. Obviously, when we post from the Northwest Cricket League, you're sharing it when someone from be involved. What have you thought the communication has been with the league to its officials, to its players, to umpires, etc.?
I think it's been all right. Yeah, yeah. There's plenty of information on social media. Yeah,
Mm,
you can't fault it at all. It's good information. The team of the weeks, they're good. It gives, if a young kid gets his photograph or his name on a board, if you will,
mm.
it's good encouragement for them, and they get noticed.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
good.
that's why we did it because people like back in maybe when you were playing more newspaper coverage. Now we
Yeah,
still do newspaper coverage, but it's a lot of it's social media. And I've learned from doing the social media, people like seeing the name in print. People like seeing the photo there because you think about it, if you score a half century, are you going to put a Facebook post, for example, saying, "Oh, look at me, I've got a half century." You might feel a bit weird by posting that. If you repost it, you share it, and we always get people, play the month voting, for example. I think we had one person for me. Obviously, we have one vote per person. I think one person maybe about 12:30 in the morning. I got my emails were buzzing, and I think we had 50 votes from random people voting for the same AB cricket club player. So I had to delete the 50 responses during the night. But it's always nice seeing people being competitive with it, and obviously it really helps us with our engagement. And when we do want to put followers out, we've got enough followers to get that communication out there, don't we? But so finally, I've got some quick fire questions for you to talk about. Um, Obviously, I gave them to you in advance. So the
Yeah,
first
I
one
forgot him.
is the funniest moment on a cricket field.
Well, it wasn't real. Yeah, this is before 9 o'clock watershed, so I can't tell you a few of them. But this happened kind of off the field. One week, a lad had put Raljets around my cap. So when I went out to field, it started to burn. So the next week, I thought, I'll get you back. So I Raljexed everything. His shirt, his under his arms, his collar, his shoes, his socks, his boxers, you name it, I Raljexed it. So after the game, went in the bar and we're talking, and the captain at team at the time says, "Is it warm in here?" And I said, "No, no, it didn't." He says, "I'm red hot," and he says, "Well, I'm burning up." Anyhow, what I'd done his captain's clothes and not the lad that did my cap. So, so
Oh,
he, I told him 2 years later, the captain, that it were me that had done it.
oh, that's a brilliant story. Um, so the next one is your favourite cricketing memory.
Playing against Viv Richards.
Well,
Yeah.
how was that
Well,
experience?
pardon?
How was that experience?
Well, I was captain of Cone at the time, uh,
Mm.
and all the press were there because Viv hadn't scored 100, and they're
Mm.
all there from different, tabloids saying that we've come to see Viv get his 100 and, all this lot. And I said, no, yeah, we're going to win and he's not going to get 100. And I always mention this if I go on Radio Lancashire to Gary Hunt. I was bowling at Viv and he hit top of his bat and it was a dolly to gully and Gary dropped it. So he ended up getting 100 that day. Yeah. So, yeah.
And the best amateur that you've played with.
Uh, there's quite a few, to be fair. The best amateur I've mentioned him earlier, Nigel Pickles. He was a
Mm.
class batter. Yeah. Fantastic batter as an amateur batsman. He
Yeah,
could have, I think he could have got a pro job, but he hadn't that ambition really. He just enjoyed playing for Earby and
yeah,
scoring runs.
yeah. I think that's the key. You see it a lot of time in second team, but a lot of players who probably could play first team just enjoy playing second team, not really warming up, just enjoying your cricket. That's the main thing. You don't want to.
Yeah.
You like playing competitive cricket, but if you're not having fun, there's no point in playing it, is there?
No, there ain't no.
Um, so next one is the best amateur and pro that you've played against.
Played against. Uh, amateur. Oh, crumbs. You got me now. And I've been thinking about it. There's been some good amateurs. Some were had been pros and become amateurs. And one of them was Peter Sleep when he played as amateur at Reed. He were
Mm.
class. Yeah, he were
Yeah.
class. Professional against, uh, I'd say Ian Austin were a good one. Ian Austin at Baxington, he were class.
Right.
Uh, and then a guy called Madden Lal, he played at Enfield in Lancashire League, and we played Enfield back to back, and he scored a century in both innings, and he was something else. Yeah.
And your favourite cricketing legend?
Oh, it's got to be in both of them. Yeah.
Well,
Yeah, when I was younger, I used to have a Duncan Fernley Magnum cricket bat. And when I had hair, I used to have it streaked and long at back. So, yeah, Ian both of them, definitely. And I went to see him other week. Yeah.
oh, so like one of these like the things with Lancashire or something like that in
He were at
person.
the football hotel.
All right. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Um, Next one is the biggest pet peeve in amateur cricket, and let's focus in the last 5 or 10 years.
The commitment of the young lads, well, anybody now. Yeah,
Mm.
the commitment. I used to go on holiday Sunday to Friday because back in my day, and even till well, probably 10 years ago, you couldn't get it if you went on holiday and obviously you didn't play. you won't get it week after you play it seconds. You know what I mean? But I think there's not enough. The squads aren't big enough, to be fair. I suppose it's same everywhere,
Yeah.
and there's not much that young'uns can be doing. Uh, and sometimes I think 45 overs second team cricket possibly a bit too long. I think the format that they do in the Ramsbottom Cup, Ramsbottom Cup, and is 40 overs. I think 40 overs is fine. You know, five bowlers. You know, 8 overs maximum.
Mm. And you mentioned before the commitment of the young players in Saturday cricket. I know I interviewed Ben Utley and Ollie Parr on one of these. They mentioned so at Padding they have if you miss a game through to a not like not legitimate excuse, so holidays wouldn't class as one.
Yeah,
You get fined £20. So and I remember one of the players Tom Turner. I think he got fined. I don't know how much he got fined, but he's got fined a lot of money. Must have been well over 100 quid because he missed 2 weeks of a season during holidays, and that was a very good interview. If anyone wants to go back and watch it, it was very fun. But whether clubs could do something like that, having a bit of fun stuff into it, because
yeah,
and it's not just for club have it. You have it for your end of season, do whatever. I went to Belfast and been to somewhere in Spain in the last 2 years. So yeah,
right.
it's obviously good to have that.
Yeah, they
Um,
have the fines committed at first team.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
and so the last one is, and we asked Graham Hardcastle this couple of weeks ago, is your prediction for this winter's Ashes?
I think we'll win 2-1. I do.
Nice.
Yeah.
And what do you think? How do you think the Test match is going to go this week against India?
I think we'll beat them at Old Trafford, definitely.
Yeah,
Yeah.
beat him and then that series over, and hopefully, I think the weather looks good this week. Maybe Sunday's a bit off, but that would change. Hopefully, get full 4 or 5 days, and obviously finals day again this Sunday as well. Cricket Saturday. You know, fingers crossed we can get some good cricket this week.
Yeah.
But I think that's all the questions I have. Is there anything that you'd like to add before we finish?
No, 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 no. Brilliant. Yeah, very enjoyed myself. Yeah.
Brilliant.
Thanks.
Um, so I thanks for coming on, and I wish you the best of luck for the season, and I'll see you again soon.
Yeah, thanks for inviting me. Thank you very much.
No problem. I'll see you soon.
See you soon.
Thank
Bye.
you.